Now, normally I play a video, but we have an article here from The Guardian about Joe Rogan, and apparently he is seems to be very critical of Trump and how his administration has been deporting Venezuelans to El Salvador. Now, we did a segment in which Christy Nome, a person who would probably enrage John Wick, was standing in front of an El Salvadorian prison, which is again notorious for a lot of human rights abuses, in which Venezuelan migrants were sent there. Now, the thing is, who knows how long they're in there for? But even this caused Joe Rogan to break with Donald Trump, which is fascinating, a very fascinating study. So Joe Rogan, the influential podcast host and prominent supporter of Donald Trump, has criticized the president's administration over the deportation of a professional makeup artist and hairdresser to a prison in El Salvador, calling it horrific. And this is what I'm worried about here, folks. I get it. Look, we have a migrant crisis at the border. The reason why it is because of U.S. foreign policy, sanctions, obviously now this tariff war, the war on drugs, everything that's caused a lot of political and economic and social instability, which leads to the rise of, again, harsh situations like the rise of dictators, tyrants, civil wars, and the rise of cartels, especially drug cartels. And a rational human being doesn't want to be smack dab in the middle of all that, or they don't want their family members smack dab in the middle of all that. So what are they going to do? Hey, find safer, higher ground. And they take the arduous march to come here to the United States. And of course, when you have Democrats and Republicans playing games with people, sanctuary cities, and so much more, you get this epic disaster. And what I'm worried about is, again, innocent people being rounded up and then being put into an El Salvadorian prison, which is notorious for human rights abuses, that have a lot of violent criminals in there, very violent criminals in there who don't care about anything. Well, then, yeah, things are going to get bad. So Andre Jose Hernandez Romero, who is gay, had sought asylum in the U.S., telling officials he faced persecution because of his sexual orientation and political views. The U.S. immigration offices argued the crown tattoos on his wrists were proof he was part of Tren de Agua. I did not say that name right. The Venezuelan gang, despite Hernandez Romero telling them he was not. Last month, he was flown from Texas to a maximum security prison in El Salvador, a facility that his lawyer said was one of the worst places in the world. And yes, there are documentaries on that place, and I would not wish that on my worst enemy. I hate that. It's fearful. It's scary. And look, just watching the videos, even I was on edge. His removal comes as the administration undertakes what Trump has pledged would be a mass deportation campaign. In the 29th of March episode of his popular podcast, Rogan, who endorsed Trump for president last year, said it was horrific that people who aren't criminals are getting lassoed up and deported. To which I have to push back at Joe Rogan and say, well, wait a minute, hold on. Wait, stop everything. In February, when you had Dr. Phil with Tom Homan here in Chicago rounding up immigrants, how do you know me? What did Tom Homan say afterwards? That he wanted to go after nonviolent migrants. This is the stuff I'm worried about, people. This is how people get rounded up, okay? And I'm sorry. This is just very scary here, and I don't like it. Okay, this is this kind of crazy that could be possible, Rogan said, and that's bad for the cause. The cause is, let's get the gang members out. Everybody agrees, but let's not let an innocent gay hairdressers get lumped in with the gangs. Tom Homan doesn't see it that way. Criticism was notable as prominent conservatives have generally been reluctant to speak out against the Trump administration. I've been noticing a lot of free speech advocates, especially on the right, being awfully, shockingly, horrifically quiet. Now, there have been others who are on the right who are speaking out, which I have to say, great. But the big ones, why so quiet? Why so quiet? The criticism was notable as prominent conservatives have been generally reluctant to speak out against the Trump administration. The Joe Rogan Experience has for years been one of Spotify's top podcasts. Okay, yes, we all know that. And again, the article talks about him being a mixed martial artist, commentator, comedian, has amassed a large following and garnered such attention and criticism for his controversial guests like Kanye West, Elon Musk, Alex Jones. Okay, but what about the other guests that he had on, like Bernie Sanders, Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, and a whole bunch of other people? I mean, come on. You're just going to mention those three? Don't forget, he did try and get Kamala on, and Kamala said no. Okay, so it's stupid for the Guardian. Rogan himself has expressed support for Trump's crackdown in the last week's episode, was highly critical of Joe Biden's immigration policies, arguing an open border brought criminals into the U.S. In the same episode, he suggested pro-Palestinian protests at universities have been paid for, and suggested that people were being paid to protest against Tesla. To which the Tesla protests, I don't know. I do find the organizations and how they've been set up to be extremely questionable. That's my opinion on the Tesla protest. But Elon Musk should be scared about people protesting in front of a Tesla dealership. That's not going to bring in change. But Rogan argued that conducting deportations operations recklessly would cost Trump supporters. If you want compassionate people to be on board with you, you can't deport gay hairdressers seeking asylum. That's effing crazy, and then throw them in an El Salvadorian prison. To which I sure do hope that person isn't in jail for too long, because that El Salvadorian prison has a sad history of people getting hurt or worse, leaving this mortal world. And he's there on his own with nobody. And if those tattoos are truly not in association with that gang in Venezuela, I mean, my goodness, an innocent man was put behind bars for BS reasons. I mean, that's a lawsuit in the making right there. But then number two, what I am worried about is if customs or if ICE is going to confuse those tattoos, what about the other gangs in there? Because see, the thing is, in that kind of environment, it's fight first, then ask questions later. I really do wish that this is quickly squared away, and that anyone else that has been wrongly rounded up gets out of that prison immediately. This is what happens when you have a hammer and everything looks like a nail. I'm worried about these roundups. I'm worried about, again, green card and visa holders, especially for people who are protesting, or might want to write an op-ed, being all rounded up, because this is how things get ugly. This is how things get scary.
Radio station just censored the word devil. Clearly, we are on a different level. I guess you wouldn't notice all the rolling boulders crashing past your shoulders when you're taught to shift your focus lower, scream at all the pebbles. Cheering on the bombers because you can't abide the rebels. But I bet you'll wring your bloody hands when all the dust has settled, when the last little limb is pulled from Gaza's twisted metal. Then you can say how you were led astray, and never once in all your days would you have knowingly supported all the genocide for which you clapped and prayed. But they baited you with unconfirmed blurbs about babies until you were filled with rage. Yet someone told you babies had been starving, bombed, and caged for nearly 80 years in Gaza, and you looked the other way. So regret, but make it fashion. Go and pluck that final petal off a hyacinth on Instagram for every kid they kettled. Every son that Israel imprisoned when they're little, that they tortured for a decade, then surprised with their acquittal. And when they got released and saw their parents, and whatever siblings hadn't met the missiles, they stared right through their middle. Their eyes don't seem to focus, and their words are all but dribble, like they're pondering the darkest riddle. That is, how many false flags does it take to make humanity inhuman and uncivil, distorted by the revel? The crooked slant where Israel contorts into America, Biden bathing Bibi in a bloodbath in the bevel. I opened up my feed and I saw children disassembled. Turned some music on and heard the station censor devil. Imagine thinking Doja Cat's a threat to moral fabric in the single largest terror cell that ever felled a temple, that ever sparked a cleansing, that ever burned a market, that ever raped with bayonets or carpet-bombed apartments, that ever turned your water off and left you in the darkness, left you doing surgery on children while they're conscious. You sing the devil's praises every time you sing our anthem. You sing a hymn to him that watched us birth a million phantoms. You'll proudly wave his flag, and yet you will not name the devil? Well, clearly, we are on a different level. I can give you names, shit, I'll give you several. They say the devil wears a different face for every general, like a composite of the char he brought to fields of emerald, and the wail of every childhood we made ephemeral. So who else has left the stain of blood on everything they touch? Who else can starve civilians and they don't so much as blush? Who else has paid for Gaza being flattened into dust? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. That's U.S. What an ugly couple letters. Feeding shit and ignorance to those it chose to tether. From the river to the sea, both are slowly growing redder. For the devil that you know just knows you better. It knows every gut reaction it could ever make you feel. It knows fear is that which wakes you up and gets you on your wheel. It knows just the kind of story that will justify its war. And the scripts are wrapped for World War IV. So just imagine my surprise to give the radio a listen and to hear such pious morals out of Zionists and Christians that they'd take the devil's name and try to clip it from existence while they carry out his bloody business. You would wave a fascist flag, and yet you honor not your Iblis? Name you not Apollyon? Hush you now your witness? Bleed the name of Belial till tongue is rolling listless in the man-made mouth of Mammon as Lamia's whispers listen. When carts are wheeling bodies through the cities that we crushed, and the very air is rotten with decay of all that was, who else would censor devil yet behave as Legion does? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. U.S., but not a unity of souls. More a mass of corporations turning houses into holes, turning people into puppets, turning puppets into mold, turning mold into nutrition bars worth their weight in gold because they're bombing every bakery and burning every field with phosphorus that never once has wanted for a meal. The devil wears a mask and it delights in the reveal, in that moment where the face is let to peel. We do not love the underdog. We do not cheer the rebels. We lust for all their blood until the dust has finally settled. Then pity just ourselves that we were so misled to revel. Proudly wave his flag, and yet we will not name the devil.